From the 17th to the 18th century, makeup was extremely popular in European high society. Especially in the 18th century, makeup was not just limited to noble women. Noblemen were also enthusiastic about applying a thick layer of cosmetics before going out. This unique trend is rarely seen in other historical periods. Cosmetics became synonymous with class fashion, where gender differences were overshadowed by class distinctions. Noblemen wore makeup not for aesthetic or natural reasons, but to flaunt their superior social status and fashion sense. Both men and women of the upper class showcased their elegance and respectability through pale skin, as heavy makeup was more esteemed than natural complexion. Makeup also served a more practical purpose. It could more or less cover up the skin blemishes left by smallpox, which was quite useful during times when smallpox was prevalent. In France, the fashion capital of Europe, almost all noblewomen and fashionable noblemen wore makeup. It was part of the long, elaborate morning grooming ritual, a semi-public event where the host could chat with visiting guests while applying makeup, styling hair, and getting dressed. Makeup was not limited to the nobility. Any bourgeoisie aspiring to elevate their social status and showcase their fashion sense would also wear makeup, especially when attending important events. By the 1760s, the popularity of makeup spurred the development of related industries, such as the increasingly luxurious dressing tables, and even influenced architecture. Architects designed dressing rooms to be positioned in areas with the best lighting. The consumption of cosmetics was immense. By 1781, French women were using approximately 2 million pots of rouge annually. 18th century makeup often appears in films and television series, typically portrayed in an exaggerated manner. However, the actual makeup of the 18th century had specific characteristics, which can be summarized as follows. For centuries, the preferred skin tone in Europe was white, even to the extent of seeking a sickly pallor. Pale skin suggested wealth and leisure, distinguishing the owner from those who had to labor under the sun. A pale complexion could be achieved using various creams and lotions, which were advertised as whitening and bleaching agents for the skin. One advertisement for a chemical detergent promised to remove all deformities, such as ringworm, sleep marks, sunburn, dandruff, acne, pimples, or smallpox scars, leaving the skin persistently and extremely white. As early as the 17th century, face creams became a staple in the skincare routine of noblewomen. Some face creams were extremely expensive, with the cost of one jar equaling the annual salary of 10 servants. Although these creams were quite natural and free from chemical additives, their whitening effects were not very pronounced. For most people, foundation was a more immediate way to achieve a whiter complexion. Foundation was the most crucial element of 18th century makeup. People used heavy white foundation to attain the desired pale skin tone, covering the entire face, neck, and chest. To enhance the effect, some even drew blue veins on their necks with pencils to emphasize the paleness of their skin. Many of the most popular facial cosmetics contained lead, prized for its ideal opaque properties. For example, one recipe for a white foundation involved soaking lead in a pot of vinegar for at least 3 weeks. Once the lead had softened enough to be beaten into a white powder, it was ground finely, mixed with water, and left to dry in the sun. After drying, the powder was combined with a suitable amount of perfume and coloring agents. Of course, the main drawback of using lead-based cosmetics was their toxicity to the wearer over time. Incredibly, despite the well-known effects of lead poisoning, people continued to use these products. Several British socialites died from lead poisoning, such as Maria, Countess of Coventry, who died of blood poisoning in 1760 at the age of 27, and the renowned beauty Kitty Fisher, who died of lead poisoning at the age of 23. If very noticeable rouge was not applied, pale skin was considered incomplete. The application of rouge could either be a large swath of red from the eyes to the mouth, or neat red circles on the cheeks. The least harmful rouge mixtures were made from plant-based substances, possibly containing sandalwood, Brazil wood, safflower, red wine, or cochineal. However, another popular rouge contained mercury, specifically vermilion, which was favored for its brighter color. Vermilion was made from the mineral cinnabar, also known as mercuric sulfide. The dangers of vermilion rouge were already known at the time. For example, the author of the 1760 book, The Art of Beauty, warned against using vermilion as a rouge ingredient, stating that it is very dangerous as frequent use of vermilion may cause the loss of teeth, foul breath, and excessive saliva production. Cosmetics containing large amounts of lead and mercury not only poisoned their users, but also caused extreme embarrassment under certain circumstances. In the 1778 novel Evelina, a French woman involved in a carriage accident is described. Her face was truly frightful. The pearls and powder on her head, mixed with the dirt of the road and her tears, combined with the thick rouge on her face, made her look almost inhuman. In fact, this mask-like makeup was not only unappealing to modern eyes, but was also not universally considered attractive even at the time. French critic Charles-Nicolas Cochin wrote around 1750, "It is well known that rouge is nothing more than a mark of rank or wealth. It is unreasonable to think that anyone with those dreadful red patches on their face believes they have become more beautiful. Surprisingly, such a distinction has been given to such a common and inexpensive color that even the lowest working-class women can spend money as extravagantly as the highest-born individuals." The ideal 18th century eyebrows were thin, crescent-shaped, and tapered at both ends, with a distinctly dark color. Lead, carbon, charred cloves, elderberry juice, and soot could be used to darken eyebrows. There were rumors that noblewomen used mouse skin to create false eyebrows, but this was likely a satirical exaggeration. Red lips were also an essential part of the ideal makeup. Distilled alcohol or vinegar could be used to redden the lips. By the mid-18th century, stick-like red lip balms for the lips began to be sold, which were the precursors to modern lipstick. The shades of red for the lips varied, ranging from pink and coral to occasionally darker burgundy tones. Beauty patches were a popular beauty tool in the 17th and 18th centuries. Noble women would place small patches on their faces to emphasize their pale complexion or cover blemishes. These patches were typically made of silk velvet, taffeta, or satin, and were glued onto the skin. The contrast of the dark beauty patches against artificially whitened skin was striking and very effective in covering prominent smallpox scars. The use of beauty patches was quite sophisticated and even developed its own set of meanings. For example, at the French court, a beauty patch at the corner of the eye symbolized passion. A patch on the forehead was seen as a sign of majesty, and a patch on a dimple was considered playful. Joseph Addison remarked in The Spectator that in Britain, the placement of beauty patches could even signify political allegiance. He described a scene at the Haymarket Theatre. "I could not help but notice 2 rows of very pretty women sitting in opposite boxes, arranged as if in contending armies. After a short survey, I found that they placed their patches differently. One had a patch on the right side of her forehead, while the other had it on the left. Upon inquiry, I discovered that those with patches on the right were Whigs, while those with patches on the left were Tories." Public attitudes towards makeup were mixed. Some people eagerly embraced this fashionable trend, while others were disdainful and critical. There were even satirical cartoons mocking the practice. However, despite the cold jests, makeup was undeniably popular in the 18th century, particularly in high society, where it became a prominent marker distinguishing the upper class from the middle and lower classes. Of course, whether this style of makeup was considered attractive was a matter of personal taste. The exaggerated makeup styles began to fall out of favor after the 1780s, with the rise of neoclassicism. More and more people started to prefer a natural and fresh look,